We've upgraded our intro, boys and girls. Listen to that shit. Balaclava Boys 2017.
Yeah, to record it properly, really.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Oh, it sounds really nice. Put your own backing track on. That might work, but...
Yeah, I should have been using like a resonance pedal, like create a bit more space as well, just to make it sound like more ambient.
Oh, okay. I never actually... I don't even know what a resonance pedal is. Well, is it a bit like a reverb or what?
Yeah, it's basically just reverb. I mean, just makes the sound resonate. That's literally it. Yeah. So I mean, reverb does the same job. Yeah.
I mean, that's very different.
I mean, to be honest, if you typed resonance pedal into Google, I'm not even sure anything would come up.
Okay.
I think those words just fell out of my mouth.
Fuck it.
But, yeah.
Let that shit fall out.
So that's essentially what I meant.
Let this fall into your mouth as well.
Oh.
That was nice.
This bit sounds good.
I've got little fields of wheat in my jumper. So shit. I need Theresa May to run through that shit for me.
So, yeah, I like that bit, actually, cut it out. But that was just, like, fucking around to Hendrix, basically.
Whoa.
Which many, you know, other people can do infinitely better, but...
Fuck.
That's probably like the best I've ever done it, you know, so... As far as I'm concerned, it was, like, pretty good.
Welcome to the Balaclava Boys After Hours. The After Hours podcast that puts you in the driving seat.
It's like, I run out of a phrase that makes any sense, so I go to my marketing, like, memory bank and find the latest marketing
Welcome
term.
to Buzzwords.
The freshest buzzword.
Are we going to put you in the digital marketing place of choice? I don't know why. Digital marketing makes me kind of cringe. I don't know. Not cringe. I don't know. I overuse that word. It's just really... They're trying to be so trendy, and it's just really fucking boring. And it's supposed to be all this young thing. It's like, whoa, we can increase our doodle from our kits by 28% if we just post pictures of our dick online. And it's like, you know, I do that for free, and it's a passion project.
Have you heard of Craigslist?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, if I want dick
pics, that's how they market themselves. Genius. Yeah, I don't know.
What kind of stuff though? Like just, I don't know, social media, like Facebook and shit like that? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it, but I'm kind of forced to. A little bit.
Oh no, I meant more like digital advertising.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. No, digital marketing. Yeah, it's just a lot of it is just trying to be trendy in like an almost aggressive way. It's like, whoa, come to our meetup. Yeah, we're gonna, we're gonna soap you down. We're gonna love you up, and then you're gonna feel real. And it's like, no, I'm not gonna feel real. This is shit.
And I'm not gonna buy your products. Why don't you fuck off?
Exactly. I mean, basically, what I'm saying doesn't make any sense in a logical way, but emotionally, it makes sense. Which is why I don't care that my son's gonna commit suicide. I'm gonna write an article on the Washington Post about it.
Yeah, we've got to talk about that at some point. But like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, advertising to me is sort of, you know, you have this like this faceless corporation essentially. Trying to craft some sort of like personal relationship with you.
Yeah.
And I just kind of find that in itself sort of creepy and exactly. Fucked. You know, it's like
no one cares. You know, it's like go home. I don't know. The thing is, like, they can't just use. If they started using cynicism to advertise products to me, like no one cares, just go home. I'd still find that bad.
Yeah.
It's like just do it in a way where you're not trying to be cute all the time. You know.
I don't know. Maybe I'm like a little bit more extreme because I just like don't really like I think marketing is just kind of shit in general. Like,
Do you hate capitalism, mate? Do you hate?
No,
Just chatting
no,
shit. I don't want to. I'm putting you on the
Are
spot.
you a fucking Marxist, mate? Like,
Yeah.
no, I don't hate capitalism. Like, I think it's like probably the best working system that we've got, and I mean, we could go into like a lengthy discussion about that. But...
Are you 82841, mate? Backwards fascism is just communism.
No, it's just that like I've worked in marketing. I've sort of been in that environment, and I've seen the thought processes that go into it, which basically just validated my cynical, edgy teenage opinion on it that was basically inspired by Bill Hicks. You know,
it's just really disingenuous, and I don't know how much I can really add to it as well. The only problem is that when I have to do it, let's say for work, it's like, when you play a game and you're like, oh, I fucking hate that character. That's a fucking noob piece of shit character. Not fun to play against. Not fun to play. Easy. And they're like, okay, try him.
Easy,
and then you play it and then you get like fucked. And you're like, oh, this is actually hard. But I still think conceptually this is shit. That's kind of what digital marketing is in a way. Because it's not...
I like how it's always like analogous to games. Like, it's like, how do I relate this to a video game?
I'm trying to bring it down to the little people.
I'm trying to bring it down to...
Such as myself.
To the myself people.
Yeah, has anyone got an IQ of 28? I mean, it's higher than my age, so...
Yeah.
So I'm probably doing well, right?
Pretty fucking good, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate in a large sense. It's like, it makes sense. You can't not have it in a way, because it is actually just sort of basic human interactions. It's like you have a business, you have a product, like you want people to know about that product. Like, yeah, of course you're gonna try and inform people about that. But I think that the world we live in today, where it's like, I'm having this shit basically packaged up into like,
so what did you see that made you dislike it in a way? Oh yeah, well, that stuff is quite genius though. I've given up on some fronts. I used to be quite privacy conscious. I still am a bit, but let's say smartphones, Google Photos, creepy shit. I'll take a picture of like 2 pictures of a landscape, and it's like, hey, we made a panorama for you. 20 minutes later, it's like, wow, that's really convenient, but also that's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's basically like the sort of the way I perceive it is that because these applications are like. They track your data on what you purchase and where you go and how you live your lives and stuff like that. And they build a profile about you. They're essentially building a silhouette of your entire life.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't really think it's an extreme statement to say that's a corporation that's stalking you. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much. At the same time,
for a reason, like that's to sell your product, and it's I'm not going to deny that it's helpful.
It's helpful.
Yeah,
it's
you
useful.
find shit.
In social ways. I mean, it's also useful, I think, if you're a stalker, it'd be fucking good. But even if you're curious about someone, like, you can find out so much about people if they don't, if they post a lot and they don't look at their privacy settings. And that's kind of cool in a way, but also worrying. Like, I'm very private.
Facebook's selling that data anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't post anything on Facebook. I use it as a messaging service, and they might, they might sell that shit, or, it's obvious that when I look at a product on Amazon, let's say on my phone, or on my work computer, and I go home, and then it's advertising me that same Amazon product on Facebook, it's quite obvious that the like button is just, feeding back into its API that I might want this product, and they're putting Amazon affiliate links to make money off me.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like,
it's a free product, so, it's creepy, but at the same time...
And they are trying to genuinely target you things with things that you like, rather than just some, like, random item.
Well, that's why TV's so shit, isn't it? It's because you keep seeing exactly the same fucking advert for shit that you will never want. It's like, oh, are you tired of urinary infections when you're 68 living in a care home? It's like, actually, that's not really my demographic, so I don't really...
I got a fucking letter the other day from... I can't remember who it is, but it's like a life insurance company, and they offer you a Parker pen, when you're like over 50. I can't remember, it's like Sun Life or some shit.
It's like, can I have one anyway?
I don't know how, but they got my information and sent me this like over 50s fucking thing in the mail, and I was just like, you're barking up the wrong tree. Come back in like fucking a long time.
In an undisclosed amount of time.
In an undisclosed amount of time.
Wow,
Topsecret.com.
Yeah, it's just too edgy, man.
Free edgy by me. Yeah, I don't know. I think that like
my name's Balaclava, and my age is undefined. My gender, I don't put it down. I'm too fluid for that shit.
Too fluid for you.
Yeah, I'm a non-agenda.
A non-agenda. You'll never know.
Yeah. My penis vagina does not forgive, and it does not forget.
I think the larger question, sort of, raised by that stuff, though. Even though we were talking about marketing initially there, though, considering we
Yeah.
just sort of like
We're just going
segued
from-
into data, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like privacy,
Yeah.
which obviously is a pretty like hot button topic at the moment, and like advertisements is just one aspect of that. You know, it's like all of this information that's been collected about us, and it's like so much.
Yeah, and you have some weird stuff happening, like, you know, let's say an American family having their picture printed out in super high quality on a, let's say on a Czech supermarket storefront. That was a story a few years ago, and you know, you think, wow.
Well, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I don't remember where I saw that, but maybe 3 years ago or so, some shit I saw on the internet, but it looked legit. I forget what website it was on. Like news, it was some news website. It was some of that fakenews.com.
Fake news, CNN.
I mean, the thing is, fake news is real, but fake news is also things like CNN. Did you see CNN like doxing that person?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Like no one really wants to talk about it when you're in public. I'm not gonna.
That is actually
I mention
pretty
this stuff out the corner of my mouth
Yeah.
in one-to-one situations, and people go, "I didn't know about that." And you're like, you know, not necessarily CNN, but small things like Obama massively fucking up his speech. No one wants to talk about it. I like okie doke. And then I mention it. It's like, really? Oh, that's interesting. And I say, well, I really like, you know, I like Obama, and I think he's a good orator, and he just had an off day. But it's kind of cool to see this shit. You know, it's like it's not something you see every day.
Yeah.
That's kind of he was on an off day, and they're going to try and use that. You know, he has a lot of great speeches in 8 years, and he has a really shit one, and everyone jumps on he's a shit orator, and it's kind of a
Well, it's a media weapon, you know. That's
Yeah.
what that is. They've got some ammo on him to embarrass him or to attack him with.
Yeah, so I like using these examples because I can kind of discredit them in a way that people aren't going to get defensive about it. But if you do the same thing to, let's say, full Donald Trump, that's looked down upon. I mean, to be honest, he's discredited himself enough by this point. But at the beginning, I definitely felt that.
Well, like you couldn't necessarily say a bad thing about him.
Or you couldn't say a good thing about him. Like, no, you couldn't put into question. Sorry, let me phrase this like a reasonable person. It was looked down upon to take whatever criticism of Trump.
No, that's all right.
Same.
Sorry, yeah.
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't actually done that yet.
Yeah, tradition.
We should also mention to everyone, you know, we mentioned about buying a bar and having green-eyed Lebanese people in it, and like some blues rock bands.
Yeah.
So we're actually in the Bar of Doom right now. Or the Bar of Doom is inside of us.
Figure that one out.
Yeah. I mean, I was building up to that for ages, and it was actually kind of shit.
It's like...
Yeah, it was like, hey everyone, be quiet. Yeah, so I shat myself. I was like, that joke
was
went
going
a
to be
bit
the
too
alphabet,
far.
boys.
Yeah.
I didn't
C, D, E, F shard, and it's like, oh shit.
I'm just going to awkwardly walk out of the room
away,
now.
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it's like when I was in sixth form, I spent ages. It's like, we have these anonymous feedback forms. I'm like, are you really anonymous? I'm going to test you. I'm going to write the most disgusting thing, and you're not going to be able to tell me off. And I wrote this story. It was like,
That's
your
such a
online
fucked way of thinking.
But it's so funny. Because what are they
I
going to
just
say
love
if I get in trouble for it? I say, well, it was anonymous, and well, it was just a joke. But also,
You've like immediately morally
I was
broken
testing
your
you.
opposition. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you said it was anonymous, and it's come back to me, so it should have been untraceable.
Actually, your
And you've
principles.
actually broken
Your
your
principles
promise.
have been broken here. Yeah. Isn't
Yeah.
that morally just as bad? And it's like you
And I
feel a little
basically
dick
wrote
about
this story that I ate some fucked up food, and at lunchtime at school, you know, in the science block, where you all have these high stools, you know, without a back to the chair.
Sure.
I really needed to fucking shit diarrhea, and I had my hand up, and I was trying to ask the teacher, can I go to shit? And they said no. And
What a
basically,
dick move. Who
I
does that?
started
It's like, I
holding
will
my
deny
hands.
you your
Yeah,
basic
but-
human functions.
Yes, that's not the bad
You
bit.
fucking cunt.
That's not the bad bit though. I was just holding my hands to my ass, like trying to fucking clench it shut. I was like, I'm actually gonna shit
Your
myself.
winking eye was getting a little
and then
bit
I like,
violent.
actually put my hands
Shit.
under my trousers, like into my fucking. I was just trying to hold it in, and the worst thing that happened is that I actually fucking started shitting myself. And
Oh, I'm
sorry, so
sorry,
this is
this
actually
memory's
really
awful.
fucked. Yeah, I started shitting myself, and my middle finger with my lubrified shit covered asshole
Fuck me.
slipped all the way inside. But I was trying to hold it in. It went like, and then basically it stimulated my prostate and made me come. You know, it's like quite a sensitive part of the human body. And everyone was seeing my embarrassed face when I was shitting myself with the finger up my ass coming. Everyone, like, I was like, 17 or something. Everyone's watching me, and I had to just run to the toilets. And when I got there was no toilet paper. And it's like basically how I filled out this survey and just sent it on. And it's like, if anyone complains about that, I can say this is not anonymous. So I just wrote the most disgusting thing I could think of.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Can you imagine reading that shit? Like, fucking...
You would be like, I showed it to a couple of friends, and they're like, what the fuck? And I was like, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, bro,
don't tell anyone it was me.
Up kids in this school.
The thing is, if they receive that, and then someone mentions that to someone like a teacher, they can feed it back and be like, then they have an excuse, they have a pretext to come up to me and be like, you're at something really fucked, and we want to, like, give you a disciplinary or something, you know?
How do they know it's, like, not real? I don't know.
Well,
that's pretty fucked.
because it is kind of too fucked to be true in a way. Like, when it gets to the coming because of your prostate, that doesn't actually make any sense. I don't really think. But maybe, I don't know. I just wrote the most fucked thing.
It's a nice bit of creative flair, though. So, well done. You were like, should I leave this at 9 or should I take it all the way up to 11?
Yeah, I think like I'm gonna
crank that knob up and trigger the prostate fucking plot device.
Everyone sees my O face covered in tears or something. I don't remember what I'd written exactly, but that was
love serum frothing forth.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote something fucked, and to be honest, I kind of wish I'd preserved it so I could read that like once every few years and just fucking wet myself
and be like, actually, this was a masterpiece. I'm really proud of myself.
Maybe I'd be like, oh, in retrospect, the idea was great, but the execution was shoddy. It's like, I would have written much better adjectives for my frothy asshole. I would have said, lubricated or puckered. I would have used different.
I've learned so many
adjectives.
words instead.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, bitch, I was, I can do watercolors now, and I was drawing a stick pen back then. What the fuck?
Mate, I was born to shop web.
So, I have no idea how we got from fucking privacy to that, but...
Well, no, it was about, because it was a private, it was supposed to be so this was several years ago, obviously.
Oh.
I don't know, 8-9 years ago or something. Anyway, I'm not going to say exactly.
A specific amount of time
that
exactly.
will
not be, disclosed.
A specific amount of time that will not be disclosed. That sounds a bit like something from A Touch of Cloth. It's like, he died a specific amount of time ago that will not be disclosed. Pointing at a corpse, like...
That show is fucking genius.
Yeah, I showed an episode of that to my dad. He thought it was pretty funny.
Charlie Brooker is just like a fucking sick writer.
Yeah, someone was talking to me about Whitney and Clumps, and I was like, do you know Black Mirror? It's like, no. It's like, oh, yeah, it's quite a big thing. It's quite well known. It's good. But yeah, there's an episode where, we don't go to... Well, it's not that we don't go to Whitney. Oh, shit. Do I need to cut that bit out? Because I'm mentioning someone nearby. Cut that shit out, boys. You're going to see the level peak, and you're going to be like, uh-oh, I got to cut that out. Right. It does work, actually. I've done it a few times.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or I kind of like mute the bit and then I basically lower the volume and I leave the cut of that out bit because it's actually funny as well.
It just makes us sound like fucking assholes.
Yeah, how it's made, the movie. It's like, I'm telling you about.
Shoddy
it's
editing.
like how the podcast is made. It's like lessons with the editor. It's like
the podcast is also the documentary.
Yeah, it's like exactly
two in one.
This is way too meta-referential.com.
Good luck organising that wiki, you dickheads.
Like I'm doing it. It'll be basically
so many
like,
links.
We have
everywhere.
Like 5 listeners. Yeah, and I'm like the only one who's listening, who's recording it, listening to it, and editing the wiki. It's like the saddest thing ever. People find it and they're like, it's like 80 years later. It's like, this was a masterpiece. He was unknown in his time, and he died penniless and afraid.
Probably with a neckbeard, but we can't confirm it.
After his 17th divorce, he killed himself by tying his massive cock around his neck and hanging himself off the balcony with it. It's like, wow.
The children did not attend the funeral.
It's only when we saw how big he was that we started respecting his art. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like real political level shit. It is basically, a lot of it is a game of like swinging your dick around and see whose dick sticks to the wall the longest. It's like, I'm just being creative. A creative flair with these expressions.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd like, yeah.
Imagine if your dick actually did that.
I'm just thinking like dipping it in some butter or something. It's like,
Get a dick in butter and then slap it against the wall with your mate and figure out like which dick is the stickiest.
Like the opposing politician, it's like your rival, and you just like you both have these like huge political dicks.
like Gary from Pokemon. It's like a fucking cutscene.
Gary from Pokemon, yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
It's like Donald Trump versus Jeb Bush. Donald Trump's like, I've been training my level 18 Charmander for a long time. I'm going to cover it in butter and throw it against the wall, see how long it sticks there. And he's like, and basically, like, Jeb is like, my Squirtle's got a big dick, but I can't throw him against the wall because I love him too much. And he's like, you're weak.
Like a micro penis. And he's just like madly flailing to try and get it to stick to the wall. He's just sort of like humping it.
To be honest, I've mentioned this a few times, but I think my recipe for comedic genius is you take the most awkward character in your show and give them a massive dick.
Oh, so you just give Jeb an enormous dick.
Massive cock. And
yeah,
actually,
you mentioned this about Archer, actually.
Donald Trump.
Like the silver
That's a
formula.
real, yeah. But because I'd mentioned that in a previous episode, oh yeah, with Luigi, like Luigi's massive 9-inch cock. He's the awkward one, you know, but he's taller and he's got bigger feet and he's got a bigger dick. Mario's really butthurt about it, which is why he's like massively ripped. He's like, I've been working out.
That's why he's so egotistical, because he's just like got a massive complex from like years of knowing that his brother's penis.
Yeah. So we used to take baths together until we were way too old, and we can't really mention it.
Our parents thought it was really feet in there.
It's like our parents thought it was cute, but I said, Mum, I'm 35. This is really fucked.
We got to sort this family out, man.
She kept giving us sedatives, talking to us about Yoshi's Island. It's like really fucked up.
Something about like Proxy Munchausen's. I heard at some point. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, they said you were ill, but actually it was our mum feeding us like sedatives all the time. She used to put ketamine on our breakfast cereal, keep us obedient, and get us into the bus.
So much fucking backstory to like the Mario Brothers now. It's just like
it's really funny to do. I don't know why it's so funny. Yeah.
I think it's because they're just like such innocent
so evil.
characters.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, woohoo! I'm an Italian plumber, and you're like, I'm going to basically brand your face with like the most horrific shit I can think of. It's like, you know, just basically like grab onto this cute cartoon character and just write like, you know, Luigi's a cum dumpster on it. Just release it to the wild.
let me twist every single innocent and positive aspect of your nature and your character into something just degenerate and fucking awful.
Fuck. But that's kind of what the internet is, though. That's why it's interesting looking at shit like, I don't know, like the Chans once in a while, or I mean, I haven't actually been on one in fucking ages.
Yeah.
I used to, you know, like putting the VPN on a little bit and just
really legitimately funny stuff though.
You could go really deep sea diving on that shit though. Like, if you really wanted to. Like, I used to go on 8chan a little bit when that opened, and that was fucked. I was like, this is too much for me. But some of it was really interesting. Like when you went onto the more discussion-focused boards, there was a black metal one. I went on that a little bit to see, and I got some actually pretty decent suggestions. So it's that kind of thing when like something's not too big and like really weird. Sometimes you get the right kind of people coming out, but also it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it was like
you're exposing yourself to the rawness of
I found like the brown pill channel, and it's just like Sir Reginald Brown Pill, and it's this guy eating like shit. He's just shitting into his hand and eating it, and he's like some 50-year-old like well-trimmed moustache sort of guy, and he's just doing it in such a dignified way that they're trying to call him Sir Reginald Brown Pill, and it's like the red pill's boring. Take the brown pill and eat your shit.
I always thought like and I was like, I never spent that much time there, but like 4chan was always like just. I don't know. It's like such a fucked place, but there's so much creative,
very creative people,
genius memes that come out of it.
Yeah,
and I feel like there's people on there now as well who, you know, they're not in it to like cause trouble or anything. They're just there to be part of the community. Yeah, and they're sort of like almost professional at it. You know, it's like you get these people writing like stories, and it's like
amazing. Like these green takes, like I just binge them once a month, and actually, some of them are fucking good.
Yeah,
that one where he like kicks the guy off the tree. Did you remember? I think I sent that on WhatsApp, and it's like that's so well written, but it's so fucked. Yeah, very stimulating to read, though. I read that, and I was like, that reads like it could be true, and that's horrible.
I think people write. I think there's probably people on there who do genuinely, you know, tell the truth, and it's like
So this story, we should probably explain it as well. That one.
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So it was. Do you remember that? It was like there's this kid, and he says that he doesn't really hurt anyone, but he knows he's a psychopath. I think I might be explaining it wrong. Essentially, it's talking about a story. It's when he was a child. His parents got divorced. And he went out to the woods with his friend, who used to go out to the woods with a lot, a childhood friend. They were like 8 or something, 9.
Yeah, his friend insulted him.
He made a joke about his mum and dad getting divorced, and he got really upset. And his friend apologised, and he said, apology accepted, but he didn't really mean it.
Yeah.
And then they walked together and found this tree, and they used to climb up trees a lot, and they climbed to the first branches, and this kid had this idea. He just said, the way he writes it is very plain, unemotional, not overwritten. He says, then I had an idea of getting revenge, and I said to my friend, climb higher, keep climbing. And he wasn't too sure, but I said, yeah, it'll be really fun, and we climbed up together. We got really high, and then I kicked his leg hard because I was behind him, and essentially he got the kid to fall off by quite a high distance, and this child had broken legs when he fell to the ground. And this kid apparently, the way he's writing, he says, yeah, so I climbed off the tree and panicked, and I didn't want to tell my parents what had happened, and he was obviously going to say, so I put my hands on his mouth and they held. And he was trying to scratch me and punch me, but he was quite weakened, Oh, I think there was something like there was blood coming out of his mouth and stuff. Like, it's really fucked. Like, there was a bit of detail, but all the detail there was very evocative and really harrowing shit to read.
Yeah, so just enough there to like make you fucking
think that maybe this is real. Yeah, it's like awful.
Yeah.
And then basically, he held his hands to his mouth, suffocated. He suffocated in his own blood. He went back to his parents and said, "There's been a horrible accident. My friend fell off the tree. I tried to help him, and he died." And he said the same thing to the police, and they just judged that the scratches were from. He said the scratches were from branches in the tree when he was trying to climb down, but were actually his friend scratching him, and they believed it. He says no one's ever caught him. He's never told anyone, and he knows that probably makes him a psychopath. But he hasn't done it to anyone else because it's not really in his interest. He doesn't want to get into trouble. But that is probably one of the most fucked stories I've read in a long time. And I thought the worst thing is that this could actually be true. It's realistic enough that.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait, no. Now we've gone down this path, I have to tell you one thing. So when I was in the other country we shall not disclose to visit my family, I watched this thing with my dad that was this Japanese film called Harmonium, or it wasn't Melodica, I think it was Harmonium.
Okay.
And it starts off as quite a cute, slow film about this family. There's a small family that they have a daughter. Maybe I don't want to spoil it for you because I feel like we should watch it together. But it's the kind of thing I was joking around.
Yeah, maybe like people listening want to like watch it as well. So I don't know. Like...
Yeah, I'll just mention it. Yeah, because we should watch it. But it's the sort of thing I was joking that like it would be this kind of thing. I meet someone and I just like give them a bunch of acid, sit them down in a chair, and put this film on, and it would probably scar them for life because it's actually the most horrible thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna basically watch it. It's like half an hour. It's a very cute film about a family and a guy who comes to live with them and work in the dad's garage. And it's very quiet, but you follow the characters and they all have a lot of empathy for each other. And then just the plot evolves in a
really rapid way.
Yeah, in a very rapid way, and in a kind of, it builds a lot of momentum very quickly. And it just blew me away. And I felt quite horrified, and I thought about that film probably while going to sleep, like for the next 3 nights, just thinking, like, you just understand how deeply fucked it is. Like, you can't process it the first time, and you think back to it and you think, wow, does that mean that? Like, it's quite cryptic, but at the same time, it explains everything you need to know, and you just need to be, like, broken enough to accept that could have happened. So, yeah, we should watch that, but at the same time, that was heavy shit. That was even worse than that fucking green text.
I don't know if I want to watch that. That sounds fucking hardcore.
It's not like visual, it's just existential.
Yeah, that's what I mean though.
I don't want to watch shit like torture porn.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a total mindfuck.
It just sounds like a mindfuck, like a really,
I mean, it's become the subject of a sick joke, so we should watch it just so we can, not in a way that you're joking about the events of the film, more about like just showing it to someone who's unprepared for it. Because basically I watched it with my dad and we watched the first half hour and we thought, this film is really nice. Like, really kind of friendly.
Yeah.
And, so it's half an hour, we stopped it, came back to it the next week. Because we'd left the house for a bit, visiting people, came back, and I said, yeah, should we continue that thing? It was pretty good. Yeah, we were half an hour in, we go back to the bit where we were, keep watching it, and then turn to each other at the end of it. It's like, fuck. And I just had, it's like, you must have seen me in this state, like, that part where I'm so horrified watching something that I could only laugh. It's like, This is
Yeah.
horrific. Like, if I
Yeah.
don't laugh, I'm gonna cry.
It's like you've pushed
I
me
was
to the
like,
fucking limit
whoa,
on this shit.
yeah. It's like, this makes me feel like I'm actually on something.
It's like intensely uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
It's intensely uncomfortable but brilliant experience because you have to admire like that. That's a masterpiece. It's like being constructed.
Yeah,
So,
it's a very, very beautiful film and very well done.
Someone sat down and basically like very like deftly and gently created like this nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
Just, it takes a lot of intelligence to do that. To craft an
Yeah.
existential horror.
And
You've got to be fucking pretty smart.
Yeah, in a way, the reason I made the jump to that is that it was the same thing where it was really fucked, but also you can imagine it happening for real. And I think for me, that is what true horror is.
Yeah.
It's like interesting. Not a lot of stuff relies on jump scares, but it's not really that scary. I always say existentially, which is kind of pretentious, but yeah, at a fundamental level, it's not something I'll think about. I can watch something about a ghost, like, with it's a doll that fucking, wants to kill kids or some shit. It's like really typical.
Yeah.
But at the end, it's just scary because it's a lot of jump scares, and that's quite cheap. When you watch something like this, there are no jump scares in it. You can watch it, and it's quite relaxing, but it
the idea
stays
itself.
with you. Yeah, like that shit lingers for a bit, and you think that's very powerful for a film. Like, that has made me respect it. I'm like, in a way, when I finished, I was like, I don't really want to rewatch that, but at the same time, I think this is really good. Like, seriously, well-crafted cinema. Cause
that's a really good way of explaining it. Actually, I don't think I've ever tried to verbalize that emotion with a film before, but
it's like,
it's a respect thing.
You acknowledge that it's a masterpiece. It's like this has made me.
You look at the skill of how it was crafted, and you go,
yeah,
all right, yeah.
You wanted me to feel horror, and I felt it in a way that the people in that situation, it's like that's a fraction of what they might have felt, and that's let's say in a really good action film, you'll feel maybe a fraction as badass as the guy who's doing all that stuff, and that's what makes a good film. If you don't
I wonder about the people who write it though, man. Do you think do you think it fucks you up, kind of having to generate that sort of?
To be honest,
creative
I think
outlet? I don't know.
I think it's a thing with Japanese society is that it's quite. It probably depends where you live as well, because it's quite varied. There are a lot of different cultures. Helicopters always playing me out though. They're not really looking for us. It's just more like, what the fuck?
I don't know. The police are probably just.
It's always the same thing. You always hear sirens and shit around here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just always have this weird, like, far off, pranging thought where it's like, imagine if we just turned. I hate this because it's like such a shitty. I used to do it like before just as a fun, as a thought exercise, and now it's like, it's become. Basically, I was going to say. Sometimes I think about this police shit and I think, well, what if we become this super efficient fascist state and like, they find an old bit of joint on the ground in like a fucking park and analyze it and they can like trace it back to you. It's like the internet fucking dystopia. But now everyone's like, I'm a fascism, and it's like, it's just, I don't really.
Yeah, I can't really see that happening. I don't think there's like even enough resources, to do that kind of shit. It's like if we had like
I don't think there are
tons of money and like police with like who are fucking super bored.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's a sci-fi thing for me. It's a thought experiment. It's like it's interesting to think about it.
I'm not disagreeing that it could happen because I think that.
To be honest, I think it couldn't really happen because of all the things that you just said. Like, I really agree with the fact that the government is really shit. Like, we kind of want them to be a bit shit though because we get to do stuff like this.
Yeah, no, I meant more that it's like just is it like feasibly possible that one day you could have some sort of like technologically powered authoritarian government. Yeah,
look at China and Sesame. That's a credit rating and a social credibility index rolled into one.
Yeah, I mean
that's incredible.
Yeah, they have their life insurance and stuff tied to it.
Yeah.
And how good a citizen they are.
Yeah, and it's like
this is very dangerous.
They look at the news that you post. If you post from government-approved sources on social media, they increase your score. If you're friends with people with a low score, they decrease your score. So that forces you, or it heavily incentivizes you to be very discriminating with who you choose to associate with.
Mm-hmm.
And what they want to do is ostracize people who aren't towing the line.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, they're using scores, to essentially control people because they're tying their ideas, like their thought space, how they think, right? And this is why it's so fucked and why it's so scary because they're tying their thought processes to a rating. That's literally what the connection is there.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
And then so discouraging people with like, dissident or against state, anti-state sort of ideas, It's thought control. You know, it's rudimentary, but
Yeah.
it's thought control. It is because
It is, yeah.
you're like saying you're
You're
basically-
heavily incentivized because we're social animals as well. We're not purely logical, and if you're going to be ostracized, you don't really, you don't need to feel cognitive. Well, you will feel cognitive dissonance, but you'll fight past it because it's better than being ostracized from your community and your family as well. I mean, that could be the worst thing. Imagine you have a brother who's like super up in the government and he's kind of guy who just eats white rice with an egg on it and who has a tie done up to 11, and he says, well, your score's too low. You post from various sources, or you don't post enough on social media. You're at a 599, and I'm at 725. So you're actually bringing my average down, and I'm going to have to disconnect from you. Yeah, cut you off on social media.
You're a low-hanging fruit, boy.
Pretty much, yeah. And for him, he can say, well, we can still have a real life outside of it, but this technology, it's a long-term bet. I'm not saying it's like a total dystopia yet. It's not North Korea where you've got to fucking report on your neighbors, as you were saying.
Yeah.
But it's inching towards that kind of, or striding, let's say, towards that goal. The technology is just not there yet. But if they could, I think they would.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't think like the say British or most Western governments would be interested in, but I think that they are satisfied essentially to be manipulative and to sniff data, and it's kind of it's working well enough.
Yeah.
They don't need to like bring the boot down and destroy people. Like most people are comfortable and they just want to like get through their existence without too much trouble. They don't want to think about it. That's the honest truth. And then there's like a segment of society which, in Britain anyway, seems to be about 60%, like two-thirds, because that's what the voting turnout usually is.
Isn't that mad?
Yeah, exactly. It's like like.
And we're not that bad as well. Our turnout rate is not that bad in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking appalling.
Yeah, but that basically means that there's like a whole third of society, like 1 in 3 people that you like walk past in the street who
just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, they just don't really care.
Well, it's all the same shit always. Which
I'm not really
to be
mad
honest,
at them for it.
they're actually kind of right.
Yeah,
it's all the same shit.
I'm not disagreeing with them.
Yeah,
really.
it's like life gets more expensive no matter what at a relatively stable rate, and things gradually get more tired looking and shitter, just as we do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
surprise,
it's like
surprise.
they're all like, this is an aging machine that is going to collapse.
A reflection of us, yeah, basically. Aging machine that's going to collapse. Society or us, because it's kind of like it's true either
look
way.
at the fucking G20, man.
Oh yes.
I was speaking to our other matey ho, and he was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, what happened? And I was like, fuck. In a way, I started explaining it and obviously got distracted and started chatting shit about something else. But I thought maybe it's best not to know about that. Did you see all that shit? Like, massive black bloc out there, like, setting shit on fire, assaulting people.
In Germany?
Yeah, 148 police injured, something like that.
People were saying it was Antifa, but I wasn't
it
aware.
is, yeah. So it's Antifa have a black bloc. So that's the name of the technique they use when they all unite and form. You can't really arrest like a mob that's all dressed in the same way, because it's harder to isolate individuals within that crowd.
It's actually kind of worrying, man.
I mean, it's basically a lot of people, let's say online, people that I watch, they're just saying we should class that as a domestic terrorist group, and they've actually only just done it in Alabama. They've done it, but just in a state that no one's really going to follow. The UK is not going to be like, Alabama's done it, let's do it. I mean, we don't really have a massive problem with Antifa, but
but at the same time, it's like these are large groups of people.
Yeah,
like,
Germany's let the problem fester, but on purpose, like their political class. They have people from the Green Party, taking seats in Parliament and stuff like that, and they're all kind of like they have a set amount of funding for de-radicalization or preventing radicalism, and they pump all of that money into trying to prevent the far right, which is why they have raids and arrests on people who post sort of like edgy comments in Germany, and a little bit in the UK, but not as much as Germany. Like Germany they do these like raids where it's like everyone at once, like 58 houses rushed. They break in, they arrest you, they take all your shit. They might let you go the next day, but it takes you a while to get like your equipment back, and they're basically like looking at all of it, trying to fuck you on something. And that's to the opposite of people who go on Antifa forums who are basically planning where to strike next, because their thing doesn't really need. They don't rely on subtlety. They just say, let's turn up in big numbers. They reported 10,000 attendees at the G20, or protesters. Tim Pool, who's an independent journalist who actually goes on site to see all this shit, He said there were probably about 7,000 of them.
Fucking hell, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's actually like.
But he was
at that
being
point,
threatened.
It's a militia, man. At that point,
Yeah,
you've got 7,000 people. That's a militia.
Yes, yeah, that's the problem. And the other thing is that and that's in Germany where they've let the problem like properly fester. But what they start doing is that they are still a violent mob. So they pretend to be. They call themselves Antifa, anti-fascist. So that's kind of a, they have a righteous label. But because of that, they can get away with, literally murder sometimes. Especially in Germany, there's like 30 people ambushing some neo-Nazi when he got off the train a few years ago, and they stamped his head in with a baseball bat. They cracked it in.
Yeah, a baseball bat. I mean, look at that lecturer in America who just assaulted that guy with a bike lock.
A bike lock, that was fucked.
It's like these are pretty nasty people at the heart of it. I mean, they might be masquerading under like a.
Be very careful with that because that is real.
Oh yeah, this is the strong shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they might be masquerading under like the pretense that they're for progress and that they're like good people and that they're trying to protect minorities and all of this stuff.
With a lot of pieces of shit.
But really, this just seems to be like a political justification for them to violently enforce their interpretation of life and of existence. Right.
Well, the thing is, they start calling anyone a fascist. So you have at first it was like probably proper neo-Nazis getting beaten up. But now it's, let's say, independent journalists going out there and documenting it.
Or random people wearing MAGA hats. It's like, they're just
that's
expressing a viewpoint.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't do that in
Germany, to be honest, that's all I've read about with Antifa, so yeah, I don't know anything about the Black Bloc. Yeah, I mean, a black bloc is just a technique they use, I think. So it's kind of like when everyone wears black and kind of comes out. Did you see how little it got reported, though? I mean, I don't think
not on any mainstream website.
I don't think it even like came up on the fucking BBC and stuff. It was like
you've got to go on fake news websites like Breitbart, and it's like I don't really go on Breitbart that much, but
I think I saw it on Reddit. I think someone was
that's
posting
where I
shit
see
on
my
there.
shit. Yeah, sometimes Facebook, but most of the time I I don't really follow like too many like overly red-pilled people. I don't really want to. I don't know. It's like.
Well, it's just kind of
I
like
feel quite conscious of who I'm following and who I'm liking.
Yeah.
YouTube is kind of my slut zone, and even then, I kind of did the history because I feel slightly. Not always. I don't know. Sometimes I just feel slightly like. Let's say if we've got guests around. At some point, it was like you and Asphodel. And, oh shit! Cut that shit out, guys. For real, cut that shit out. Sorry, I don't know what accent that is. It's just like an old, like 50s.
So fucking professional.
Exactly.
Cut that shit out, boys. We've gone back in time.
Exactly. Welcome. This is 1920s radio.
I'm afraid we've gone and fucked up by dropping name bombs everywhere again.
Oh shit!
I think I've actually lost the accent. So yeah. But
I've lost the accent. Reporting back to Vegas.
Can you remember what you were saying before you like dropped those names? You said you were self-conscious about people coming over.
Oh yes, just because like so you have someone. So we have a friend who, let's say, who's very nice, and we know she leans a bit more left, and don't know her like that well, and it's just kind of like
and that's
on my recommended videos. It's all like Milo Yiannopoulos gets his asshole out and moons some fucking liberals, and I'm like,
it's like, is this gonna make me look like a piece of shit?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, are they gonna judge me? Because they're probably judging me, and it's like, well, I've been nothing but nice to this person. And like they I think like I have to have faith.
Reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I have to have faith that this person thinks I'm more than maybe their perception of it. But at the same time, it looks like in bad. So I'm like, delete history and just watch in spare time with headphones in.
I think that like most reasonable people can understand that essentially when you're trying to form an opinion on something. If you've been taught to argue correctly, at least anyway, like when writing an essay and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
You've understood that there are two sides to a story, or two sides to a point. So it's kind of like I think it's actually pretty rational and pretty normal for someone to say, I'm going to look at what the left-wing media says about this, but I'm also going to look at what the right-wing media says about this.
That's what I do, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and then I'm going to try and come to some sort of balanced,
in the middle,
rounded understanding of what the fuck is going on.
In the middle is kind of a dumb way to put it. It's just somewhere between them. That's usually the right answer. You just have to figure out who's on the right this time. Or sounds pretty. You've got to figure out who's on the right this time, and then you just pick the right every time, and you go as far as you can. I mean, that's what I'm telling you. No, it's basically It's so stupid. Oh, making shit jokes. No, so you've just got to pick which one between the left and right media is right that specific time, and then you follow that way.
Who's been accurate anyway? Who's been genuine?
And usually they're both being a bit inaccurate and pulling on their side, and you pick something roughly in the middle.
Yeah, it's like, don't get me wrong, I actually quite like following Milo on like social media because he does put stuff out
He's
there.
quite good, yeah.
He's quite on the pulse, but sometimes he really does he twists the context of stuff so far.
He stretches the truth.
Like he warps the reality of what he's presenting so hard, at least on Facebook on some posts. That it's just not even like
he's just like marketing to his fans in a way.
Yeah, it's honestly dishonest by that point. It's just basically it's just what people want to hear, so that they can have their like justified moral wank over like these people that they don't like, who, don't get me wrong, like Antifa and people like that. Who wants that in society?
Look at Evergreen at the moment. They
exactly.
We'll
wants these
watch
people?
That tomorrow.
But these people are fucking, in my opinion, they're mental, right? They are.
This is a good time to bring up that. I think, unless you pump on that.
Pump on that shit.
Yeah, this is your mission.
What were you going to bring up?
I started thinking about pumping on that shit.
You just totally
I was like, pump on it, pump. Oh wait, what was I thinking about?
Wait a second, we gotta derail it because I got an important thought.
Yeah,
and
then I was
flown
like,
away
I
like a butterfly.
forgot. Yeah. I had it was. So what were we talking about?
We were talking about like how we don't really want people like Evergreen fucking university campus.
Yeah, so we have to watch that shit. There's been a talk. I think it's the public asking questions to the faculty of Evergreen, and you'll need this shit. That's what I was trying to say, but then, anyway, they say people are asking them questions, and apparently they're so delusional that it's quite scary. A lot of the faculty are very, very far left, and they're lionising what the students have done out there. So it's quite interesting to see.
So they're like praising it.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, they are praising it. It's really weird. I remember the other thing I was going to mention was that article that we both read about that woman who's a Washington Post contributor.
Oh yeah, she is.
That's probably one that we can both comment on quite a bit. So go on WashingtonPostLady.Google.
Fucked up story.
Washington Post lady on the internet, and she's called Joy. She's called Joy Cady or some shit like that. I don't remember.
To be honest, I think that if we just describe the story, like people will be able to find it, just because it is actually quite a famous story at the moment. Anyway, doing the rounds. But yeah, it's sort of like this incredibly narcissistic woman talking about how she can't possibly trust any men anymore, even like feminist men. Like any form of man.
It's like some of the quotes. Yeah, it's like progressive men. I know that most progressive men won't be raping a woman behind a dumpster, but have they really lost that side of themselves, or is it still present? And it's like,
what kind of question is that? Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, it's like, I know I shouldn't...
Like, what are you asking here? Like, seriously, like, your view has been warped of like, what people are,
What I hate with all this social justice shit is the incredibly disingenuous tone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's always like, oh, I know we shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna do this, and it's like asking a question, so you're like, that's actually...
I just find the melodrama annoying, It's basically
it's very melodramatic, but also very manipulative.
Well, yeah, because they use melodrama to try and present basically like a fictitious sort of story that they say represents the truth of how we actually live. So they use all of these exaggerated terms, which are incredibly strong, to provoke like this intense imagery and this intense reaction.
Yeah.
But then they're hiding behind the language or the writing technique of that just being expressive language and not like what they're actually trying to say. So if someone criticizes them, it's like, oh yeah, I was just emphasizing, I was just trying to make a point.
Yeah, well, I was trying to start a conversation.
Read the material, it sounds like incredibly visceral and awful.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that you have an infinite number of excuses. If you falsely accuse someone of an awful crime, do you need the lighter?
Yeah, please.
If you falsely accuse someone of an awful crime, you can just get away with it and say we were starting a conversation. Or if you want to destroy someone's livelihood, you can claim that they're against you, which means that they're against goodness, and post their address. And things like, CNN doxing someone. I know we're jumping between one subject and the other, but I think eventually we'll cover them all. Do you want me to...
Yeah, go for it. I'm struggling. Yeah, no, CNN doxing is definitely part of that. I mean, that's like super unacceptable, what they did. And
I think you should take a little toke on it, I'll make it easier to light. still long enough for that.
Yeah, it is like proper typical bully tactics that they were using essentially.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're acting surprised, but they're like getting fucked by everyone left, right, and centre. I don't know. That doesn't really hold any weight with me. I mean, they're sort of clearly the ones who made that threat, sort of instigated that, you know, to release like a private citizen's details.
Yeah.
Because he dared to make a political gif. You know, it's kind of
that was really weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's a joke. You know, it's a fucking joke.
I mean, he said some fucked up shit on Reddit, but then it's like a nationally watched TV channel is gonna go after a private citizen.
Yeah,
like
he's gonna pound on one person.
It's like he deleted all. They're acting like vigilante justice in a way. It's like he deleted all his comments, so we're not going to reveal his name. But if he says more fucked up shit,
then
we reserve the right to give everyone his name.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're kind of in a way, yeah, he's a dick, but like you can't do that. Fox News can't track down someone, let's say on the left wing, who's a piece of shit, and say, oh, we're going to release their name. You know, oh, he was on, you know, lefty poll memes and said some really fucked up thing about people that, you know, it was like gulag jokes and we can't really accept that.
It's basically
it's like, no one says that.
Man. It's like,
yeah,
you know, you're getting to the point there where it's like, oh, what, we're going to allow corporations to basically police the population, you know? Because that's what
yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's
yeah, that's what they're trying to do, and it's like, no, you know, we have a legal system. Like, fuck off. You know, use the actual tools that we built. Like, don't basically become mob justice under the face of a business, because that's bullshit.
It's not saying as much, but I'm sure that. Oh, that's actually good.
Yeah, apparently they got like the guy who made the GIF completely wrong anyway, because they were accusing a teenager.
Really?
And, yeah.
Oh yeah, but
some guy was coming out on 4chan. It was like saying it was like some Mexican guy who like owns his own business.
Oh yeah, that's weird. Yeah, he was a middle-aged guy in the end. Yeah, he has a family and stuff. But I did hear a lot of things. People thinking it was a 15-year-old. I wasn't sure if that was internet misinformation or media. Like
I think it was being perpetuated initially because it generated an enormous amount of sympathy. Just like, you know, it's like people hear like CNN is beating up a 15-year-old and they go, what the fuck, you know? But I don't think it was actually true in the end. I think, like you're saying, it was actually like a relatively older guy.
47-year-old, I read.
Oh, right.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to anything really. I mean, like the sources I'm reading are mostly from fucking
internet shit.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, you sort of have to
reading the comments, trying to figure out, take
lines.
Everything with a grain of salt. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I do think it's interesting because even if you look at something like YouTube, the comments on all of it, try that shit. The comments on all of the videos were actually dog shit. And now it's not like they're amazing, but they're actually, you can read it. It's not that bad. Whereas I remember like all the YouTube comments used to be like, your mum, lol, you're fucking gay, mate. Oh yeah, I'll fuck you, mum, yeah. And it's all like really kind of people who don't know how to write, who were like 13, who are just trying to make alpha jokes all the time, and it's not working because it just sounds so stupid.
Whereas now it's actually like it's kind of evolved a bit, and it's sort of the discussions of our like entire generation of time are happening on these forums.
And that's the end of that shit.
And I say discussions sort of loosely there because like if you've ever fucking obviously delved into the comment section of YouTube, it's like Jesus Christ.
Sometimes you get some fucked up people on that shit.
Yeah, sometimes you get some really inspiring,
you get some interesting
great people
shit as well.
Yeah, you see some people and you're like, you know, that's a good mind that's out there.
Yeah.
So much fucked up stuff.
Yeah. I like looking at some of them. I think that because you build up a community and a lot of people just get really good at making inside jokes about a specific thing.
Yeah, memeing is basically, I think, one of the things that's been the most enjoyable for me in the internet.
Yeah, it's like small scale stuff.
Like, I love
because
the internet,
the bigger something gets, the more it gets diluted and a bit shit. You know, when something's kind of fresh. I mean, there are some things that are eternally funny. But let's say, do you remember like Chuck Norris jokes? I remember that being funny.
Man, Chuck Norris jokes are still funny.
I don't know. Yeah, they just got killed. Like basically, it's just like the media started using them all the time. And it was everywhere, and they weren't funny anymore. Like because it was just too much. They like
it does kind of murder it if like a corporation embraces a meme, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Hillary Clinton tried to use like memes to fucking win the general election? You haven't seen Hillary Clinton meme queen. Oh man, holy shit! You got to watch
I
that.
think
It's
we need
like
to watch that. I think we might have watched it.
I've got to Pokemon Go to the polls. You didn't hear that?
I think I have actually heard that.
It's
I need to hear that again.
it's like
I need to hear that again.
that was like probably the cringiest part of the like American presidency.
remember that at
It was
all.
like this advertising campaign that tried to, you know,
I don't know
tack
if I've seen
onto
that,
like
I've
current
heard about
events
it.
and the internet
Yeah.
and like memes and stuff, and it was just like really like it was like pandering so hard, like pandering to like the extreme.
Yeah, it's something that's instantly going to age as well. No one's going to study that and be like, "Oh, Pokemon Go was a great reference at the time." Maybe they will. I don't know. It's like some
Maybe, yeah.
yeah, it's like some academic person's like, I'm going to study history. 200 years ago, Hillary Clinton used some great rhetoric here to, persuade the public who were just too simple. She was born before her time, and she really used them top maymays. She used the dank maymays to great use, whereas Donald Trump was just crass in his use of the dank maymays. They were not dank at all.
Rather than going for the Maymay route, Trump went for the Twitter route, which is like also perfectly viable sort of because it's like
shit, and everyone
because it's
it.
like Twitter's got one of the strongest communities on like the entire planet. Never mind like just the internet. Like
really fun.
The shit that goes on there, and like the amount of like social intrigue that's generated by that site.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, like
you feel this shit like screenshots from it, and you're like, oh,
yeah, and it can be from anything. It can be from like video gaming communities and I don't know, like people who play like competitive card games, like random shit. And it's like
Magic the Gathering. Yeah, there was a leader in that community who was like getting shat on at some point.
Yeah, and it will have been like a big bit of drama on Twitter that everyone's sort of like joining in on.
Yeah,
people fucking love that shit.
Well, the internet, the politics of the internet have changed so much as well in the last like 10 years because there was a story ages ago, very early, I think it was Wired, where this girl wrote an article about going out with this Magic the Gathering guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And she was kind of mocking him, saying that he was really shit and like beta, and I don't know, I don't remember. I'm kind of making it up, but she was basically quite mean about him, and a lot of people who wrote for kind of the more mainstream internet publications at the time, like. Was it Wired that actually? Yeah.
Wired was a good magazine,
yeah. Yeah, there were a bunch of them that decried it and said that, she's being incredibly horrible to this guy. And now the mainstream reaction is not usually against women in favour of guys. Like, it's usually the other way around. So beautiful around here, isn't it?
Like, yeah, it is. It is actually fucking great.
You look at the light through the trees and... Yeah, actually, I should probably stop thinking about that shit.
Do you mind chatting some shit while I have a wee?
Yes, I will do it.
Alright.
I will say this, I will make an incredibly ambivalent, not ambivalent, incomprehensible answer.
Incomprehensible?
Yeah. I don't know about you, dear reader of views and listenings, but I'm pretty fucked, so you just need to play on your own right now, and I'm going to try and tell you what's going on. There's this scarecrow in the field taking a piss, and then there are some leaves and branches, and the branches are coming out of the leaves instead of the other way around, which is really cool, kind of freaking me out. The root is outside of the ground, but the trunk is firmly within the ground, and I'm kind of broken between two logs, an entire tree, and a built house in like 3 different realities, and it's kind of like quantum existence is fucking me.
Quantum existence is fucking you.
That's what it sounds like.
If anyone ever wants to draw that, like, I would, yeah.
Send me an illustration, and I will send you
I'd fucking
a
set up a
picture
PO box for that shit.
of my top right lip, my upper, my right.
My upper
lip
right
side
quadrant of my
curling.
nipple.
Yeah, exactly. I'll send you a video of me rubbing my nipples, going to the post office and trying to post just a tub of Vaseline with no envelope.
The picture will come in fractions of 32.
This is not my fetish. I've just put the Vaseline on my nipples and I'm trying to ship it to Belgium. It's like, don't tell anyone. I don't know what's funny. It's like, that's too specific. Yeah.
That's Oddly specific.
What does that mean? Yeah, exactly. It's like, is he trying to guess what I'm thinking about? So that's not working at all.
Is this a psychological technique?
Yeah. So,
Is
well,
my
that's
mental
really
fortress being assaulted right now?
That's
Holy
not where I am
shit.
right now.
Oh.
Wow. I don't know.
Yeah.
This conversation has escaped me as well. It's kind of like a cat. It's like trying to follow it around.
It's like we played with that idea too hard and it got fucking
It was pretty funny.
burned and thrown around, yeah.
I'm just gonna, I think we should just admire how funny that was while not really remembering what we actually said.
This is the problem with getting wrecked. Isn't getting wrecked like just actually it's an interesting experience. I think it's like
it just feels incredible. I
yeah,
don't really
it's
do it
kind
very
of
much.
it's kind of bizarre,
Wow.
you sort of like you engineer your mental state.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like
exactly.
you sort of you find like an equilibrium that is just very
You're like, wow, this is so stimulating.
yeah, pleasant and sort of mentally engaging. Yeah, and I think it's like you sort of have to be a bit explorative with any sort of substance, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, it's like different quantities of stuff, isn't it? Like we're not really on anything. Making a lot of jokes about like harder drugs and stuff. We're not really on any.
No, fuck
anything.
that. You can't really.
Well, you can really do a fucking podcast doing that.
Yeah, no.
We're actually having a normal conversation, but we're also a bit like
normal.
There's a formula.
I wouldn't have this conversation on the bus, mate. Yeah.
No, yeah.
It's like the floodgates are open.
Yeah, no, this is more in the middle of a fucking field by a tree where the roots are big enough that you don't get too many weeds around your feet. That's kind of. Wait, did you say my name? Cold Red, Cold Red. I'm gonna take your name out and I'm gonna leave this voice sample in, so you better find it funny.
Super peaking.
Oh, peaking. I used to love Beijing. Now I love Peking. Why is that funny? That's so shit.
That's fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Did you just assume my ableism?
Did you just assume my hot rhymes?
Oh, that would be amazing. It's like, did you just think I was a racist because you just made a joke? Did you just think I was gay because I was talking like this when actually it's normal?
Oh man.
I don't know. It's fucked.
I'll tell you who else is like actually
pitch down.
Pretty fucking cool anyway. Like Guardsard.
You got me like amazing
into his videos.
He's legit. Have you been watching the recent stuff? I haven't watched him recently actually.
Yeah, I mean I haven't watched all of it. I have to admit, like some of the.
But the most recent stuff or what?
I've been watching stuff from him over like the last sort of 2 months.
And is he legit? Because I watched a little bit, but I used to watch a lot more. Now I don't really have the time, but I kind of want to put him back into my routine.
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
I think he is kind of on it. I mean, he shows his own biases in certain aspects of the arguments that he makes. But the thing is that
there's a lot of like jokey stuff that he does.
Yeah.
As well, yeah.
The thing is though is that generally like he seems like a really pleasant guy and
he's great. Yeah, I would like to be friends with him.
Yeah, he's just putting his view forward and he's doing it in a very well researched and well mannered way.
Yeah.
And I really respect him for that, and I really enjoy watching his stuff. But most of it's been about Bill C16. Like he's just been.
Oh, he's talking about that as well.
Yeah, because
he's in Canada. Right? He's in Montreal, so yeah.
He testified with Jordan Peterson. I think he went first.
Really?
And,
wow.
Yeah, one of the judges accused him basically of. I saw this on Joe Rogan's podcast. He had him on there and he was talking
I need
about
to watch that. I'm missing the Joe Rogan with Sargon of Akkad as well. Like I really need to watch.
Yeah, that was also a pretty good episode. I would recommend.
Sargon has basically become more and more on it over time. Like he used to just be some fucking random internet commentator who just had a good voice. But I think now
he's really studied his shit.
He's done a lot of reading. Yeah, he reads a lot and he follows current events. Basically, he goes on about this shit a lot. He's like, I'm not going to be doing politics all my life because this shit is stressful as fuck and things keep changing. Like at some point, I'd just like to start writing history because that's really what I'm passionate about. And that is going to be a long-term viable thing for me because this is like stressing me out.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not a joke. It's like. There's a reason I'm going white, like prematurely and shit like that. It's like, fuck.
Well, yeah, I mean,
stuff like that. It's like, fucking hell, man.
I mean, to be fair, like you got to think about what he's actually exposing himself to. I mean, when people look at like successful YouTubers like Sargon and stuff like that, they and
he has to justify every single thing he does.
They perceive the fame, right, and they perceive the other people clamoring around that person and going, "Oh, you're fantastic." And they go, oh, well, that would be really nice for my ego if I could experience that as well.
Yeah.
But what they're not seeing is that, like, the person in that position, like, whilst they admire their fans and they, like, they do love their fans, like, the sort of ability to survive and to be successful is based on how they approach their foes.
Yeah.
And like their foes are fucking numerous. Like the amount of people who want to like take down someone who's actually a good debater on some sort of stance.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that makes
it's like,
sense. Yeah, it's
you
like
know,
I'm gonna shut you up.
Yeah, it's like endless waves of people trying to like basically
Wow.
wreck your shit. You know.
Yeah, I don't want to get my shit wrecked.
And so, you know, he's going to be, like, from what I understand, I mean, I'm not really much of a Twitter guy, but I understand sort of generally that Sargon is, like really responsive on that, you know, he spends, like, a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's as well as managing, like, a YouTube career and as well as managing fucking the writing.
But he's just on all of it all the time.
Yeah.
He does produce high-quality content, though, I have to say.
So you
some
got
of
to
his
work
shit.
mega hard. Like, I bet that guy is busting his balls.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And he's probably the only guy I still have time for in a way. I'll just go and watch that, and he's not like he has like a low effort channel that's kind of fun to watch in a trolley way, but just the main shit.
Yeah, but you know that's what you're getting, so you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is low effort shit, and I still think it's amazing. So.
Sometimes low effort shit is all you need, though.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want.
Maybe that's the music I listen to as well. It's like I just want to hear some low effort shit from real people.
You just don't. You don't want some bullshit for a change.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to eat my bullshit soup again. I don't want my gruel. I want my cultural fucking oatmeal with berries in it. It's like real shit.
I'm bored of this like lobster tortellini. I really fucking.
His lobster tortellini is shitting on my life.
Yeah, it's fucking too much, you know.
Oh, I'm gonna get you out and I'm gonna eat some lasagna.
It's time for
instead.
some bread and some fucking budget meal peanut butter. Like, that's the fucking train I'm on.
I'm gonna eat some peanut butter with a spoon, and I'm gonna put the spoon on the pizza, and I'm gonna eat it. Dry Mouth City. I'm gonna drink a whole pint of milk. I'm gonna vomit in it, and then I'm gonna stir some peanut butter into it with some raspberries.
What the fuck would you do that?
I'm gonna blend it all up with some ice, and it's actually gonna be good to drink again.
Become fucking awful. It's like
I'm saying the worst thing I can think of.
Fucking turgid brine. So yeah, eat that.
Oh no, turgid is the word for what my penis would be when I was drinking that. And then it would be semi-flaccid until I made another shot of cocktail shit for myself.
Wow. From respect to Sargon to like fucking that.
Oh, whoops! Yeah,
so
sorry,
how does
man.
it happen? It's like
this is funny as fuck.
Basically, we've like talking to a bally boy here. It's like anytime you're having a conversation about anything, you're just
Flavy, the killer of souls.
You're basically just worried that you're going to slip down this hole of degeneracy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you don't know where the fuck you're going to end up.
It's like Bally's gonna take you to hell. It's like my hand moves towards you, and then the skeleton comes out of my skin and grabs your skeleton and pulls you down. And then you're like,
conversation about
existential horror. I'm like putting you down, like push you into this existence, like a different existence of pure horror and nightmare. And then I pull you out of it. I pull you, put you back into the old existence. And I go, I might take you back there one day.
I hope you recover in time.
Yeah, in time for what?
You don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you gotta do the sound effects. Oh no! Oh shit! I'm gonna shit myself. I'm gonna die. Oh, so stupid.
Oh, that's fucked. I don't really. I don't know why we did that, but yeah.
It was really good. I'm just gonna say, I'm my own best fan. I'm a big fan of our interaction.
I'm number one fan of me. It's like,
wrong.
Spot the narcissist.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm just gonna say, if I could, touch my knees together and call myself Jesus, I'd do it. But I can't do that just yet.
Touch my knees together. So take me back to Kansas.
I don't know. It's so shit. Like, yeah. No, I was saying I'm a big fan of our interaction together. I think it's funny as fuck just to chat shit.
Yeah.
We just naturally tend to bounce off each other in like a really absurdist way, and that's what makes it good. You know, it's like
pretty fucking absurd.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't know.
I think it's like it's a language thing as well. You know, it's like if you have an appreciation for like words and sort of the way they like actually structure an image in your mind. You know, if that's kind of important to you, I think it's like you tend to pay particular attention to it. But then when you find someone else who does that, it's like, you know my dictionary. Let's fucking paint a weird picture.
Exactly. It's like I just like when you just like, I'm not going to picture that. Sometimes you put your foot down and you're like, I'm not going to think about that. And I'm like, imagine being in a tub of baked beans and you feel one of them go into your ears, and you try and pull it out, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
Like, no.
And you're like, I'm not gonna think about that, and you're struggling around in your fucking
letting you into my brain
earlobe.
that
Yeah,
way.
exactly. It's like,
Like
you
fucking
realise.
Boris Johnson, like,
Oh,
what
the
was
cat
it?
thing, yeah.
Theresa
It's like
May turning
yeah,
into
it's
a
like,
sweater or some shit.
No, I've got a new one. It's Boris Johnson's got an old sweater. He's got a little gun, and he's lying on the ground with his legs open. And you walk into his, like, in the side of the frame, like you're in a fucking James Bond, like, opening credit scene, and he just shoots you from between his legs, and then you turn into a cat.
Why is the guy to always turn back into this?
You turn into a cat,
Like
and you're irresistibly drawn towards him because of his pheromones. And then what he does is that he takes Theresa May's old sweater and he rubs it on his sweaty balls because he's had this spotlight, like basically punched on him.
You're locked out.
Full power spotlight, right on his genitals. And he just basically like it's all sweaty, and he just rubs it off. He gets Theresa May's old sweater and he rubs it on it. He throws it into a bed, and then he goes, in bed, and I'll give you your food. And you go, okay.
I'm just not listening anymore to this shit.
You gotta go sleep in your bed now.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. It's like so abusive. You can't even imagine that shit.
I refuse to.
I would probably die. Just of heartbreak having to live through that shit. I don't know.
It's just like the most like cruel thing you've like ever thought of.
It's like being Boris Johnson's pet/slave. It's like
no thanks. Oh man.
he takes really good care of you and he gives you the favourite food, but at the same time he doesn't let you go outside when you want to.
Abuse.
That's negligent.
It's like, never mind all that other like weird shit that he does. It's like it's all about the food. If you were an actual cat, you would think.
Well, that's the thing. If he turned you into a cat, you would be a bit more simple. But the whole thing of sleeping in your in that stink is basically kind of really fucked up of Boris Johnson to do that. I don't know why he would. What a dick!
It's unnecessarily abusive.
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically
it's like this is weirdly pornographic. Fuck off, Boris.
It's like it's kind of it's not even like
turning off Boris Johnson for something I've made up myself.
But there's like some sort of like creepy, pervy,
it's like evil shit.
You know he's gonna go have a wank about it. It's like
I turned someone into a cat, and I've got his pictures.
Just like looking at his cat, and he's like a raging boner.
He only fucking like turns people into cats when he's friended them on Facebook. So if you don't friend him,
he's got like a whole method.
You friend them and you can't unfriend them because you've turned into a cat, and he just looks at your pictures of when you were human and strokes you as a cat, and then he goes and touches himself and thinks about it later.
That's fucked. That's really evil shit. I don't know. What have we done? We opened the fucking portal to hell.
Yeah, exactly.
The demons are coming out.
I'll play you some real black metal with your mind.
I don't want to go in that dimension.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sealing that shit off.
Yeah, it's like you've got to banish that shit.
Holy water. Find me some holy water.
Oh no, actually, Theresa May's made the holy water a lot thicker. These people kept throwing it on these vampires riding around on their mopeds for delivery.
That is fucked. So if anyone has no idea what the fuck that reference is about, as I didn't earlier, it's like people have been going around London. Well, I mean, a couple of areas in the country actually, according to like the newspapers, but basically like throwing acid on people, and you were mentioning earlier that it's like a
drain declogger,
drain cleaner.
Drain cleaner, yeah.
That they're making this acid from, which is I mean I didn't know that. Like I had no idea. Like I would never guess you could do that. I guess it kind of makes sense now. I actually stop and think about it. But yeah, I mean, people making like weapons out of this everyday stuff.
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, acid as well is like such a horrible thing to do to someone.
Yeah, it's like full on disfigure them.
That's kind of like third world country tier sort of activities. I don't want to deal with that shit.
Well, yeah, I mean you're. I mean, how even to like accurately word this without being offensive in some way?
Well, that's kind of exactly what I've done. It's just not really nice, but it's kind of true though. It didn't really happen.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of happening, and it's like this does not belong here. Like I thought we sort of terminated this throughout history.
Yeah, this behaviour. It's like this is some pretty barbaric
We've made
shit.
people like even the worst people are kind of they can empathise with you on a human level.
Yeah, it's like let's be honest. Someone who is capable of doing that to another human being, they probably don't have the ability to like empathise with your your point of view and like your position in your shoes. Because like otherwise, how could they do it? Because it's like any sort of like rational person would sort of go, even though like you stand for everything that I don't like, or like I'm really fucking pissed off with you. It's like I understand like that you're gonna go through like a lifetime of misery because of this one action, and like actually that's like an enormous cost to inflict on someone. So why would you do it?
Yeah, that's pretty fucked.
So you've got to be like pretty fucking heartless to do that shit, and that tells me a lot about the type of people who are doing it. You know, they're like fucked.
And they're doing it.
They're the kind of exactly. They're the kind of people who are willing to throw acid on someone's face. It's like let's actually weigh that for a moment.
Yeah,
and go,
exactly.
Look at who
Can
these
we
people
like
are.
banish you in history? We can just banish from time, just like.
Banish from time. Time splitters too.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna fire portals at you, and you're gonna be gone. You're gonna be just a
Your
cosmic
ideology
echo.
is obliterated.
Floating through space. It's like we're recording something with a satellite, and then they're like, "Whoa!" It's like all these signals start bombing in, like,
You're just hearing all this offensive monkey screaming. It's like
it's just like interdimensional scream of
the most degenerate, corrupted ideas of like all intelligent societies anywhere, like just floating through in a cosmic scream.
Yeah. It's like infecting everyone's mind, and they're like, "Let's launch the nuke."
I love it how we just got to launch the nukes like immediately. Though. It's like, wow, this is probably bad. I mean, it's kind of unusual.
We've targeted Washington with the virus that makes them evil.
It makes them
like
evil. What are they doing? Like poisoning the lunch meat in between, like doing corrupt deals with fucking Putin.
Yeah,
like,
no, they
it's like literally everything, even the way they piss.
They blew this. It was just like a blow dart with a little like glass ampoule on the end of it. They blew it, and a bunch of like gas came out and spread itself really widely. It's like a weird spore that came out, infected everyone, made them evil. And that's why they're like, you know, this Pizzagate shit is actually true. And they're fucking kids and all this shit. And it's like. It's just because they've been turned evil by this poison, and no one knows it yet because they're so good at hiding it.
It's also why the media is just like collapsing in a heap of fucking
because like they're getting blown at them as well, and
so
they're like,
let's just make as much money as possible.
We've just felt the poison in our lungs. It's kind of like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode from the 90s gone horribly wrong. This is like, you know, it's like this is the episode that disturbed children deeply.
This is the one where the frogs turn gay and like everything's.
Oh no! They put chemicals in the water. And the Ninja Turtles start like rubbing each other's tits together, and they're like, "We got them now."
It's like, what the fuck? This episode has turned into something unexpectedly
turning
mature.
Into frogs, and frogs are turning into transsexuals, and they're like, so edgy, like Teenage Mutant Turtles 2017.
Bill Nye should just like show up in the middle of that, you know, drop the beat, you know.
Oh, Bill Nye. Well, his little cringy dancing is like, ooh, ooh, cha, ooh, cha, and he's like, I'm feeling this so much on the TV show. You're like, this is recorded live, obviously, because it's so shit.
Yeah, he was like
take that again.
Rubbing his body.
He was.
If you actually watch it, it's kind of like...
Yeah, it's really, really horrible.
Like, what you did.
What are you doing? Exactly.
Why are you doing that with your body, Bill?
He's jerking himself back and forth like a fucking...
He's jerking himself about jerking himself.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like in his little social brain, you know, in his spirit molecule, he's like jerking himself.
My engineering spirit molecule.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's just rocking himself back and forth like a velociraptor who's a bit autistic. You know, he's trying to figure it out. It's like, how do you dance? And it's feeling really bad because the fucking politics is rad. This is what's popular. It's like, no, it's not.
I don't know enough about him to say, but I wonder whether
I used
he
to watch that shit when I was younger.
I wonder whether he like got enough of that, like as sort of like a late teenager, sort of early 20s, you know, like dancing and stuff. That's kind of when you do that shit.
Yeah.
Like, or it was for me anyway. I mean, I'm speaking generally, and maybe like people start that stuff younger or potentially older, like, you know, whatever. But for me, it was kind of around that time. And yeah, if I didn't have that, then I sort of like wouldn't know how to like physically interact in those situations. You just sort of learn it, don't you, through socializing and stuff like that. But I can't remember how that ties back to the original point because I'm just completely fucked.
I was actually listening to all of it, and I felt like it made sense, but I can't tell you from where I came from. I'm just gonna bring it back to something that the people understand, which means me and you, because we're fucked.
People.
Yeah, the people who are listening to this and speaking this at the same time, which is probably the best experience to have. I just wanted to bring up that fucking Peep Show episode where Do you remember the one where Mark and Jez decide to go different ways? So he wants to propose to Sophie in the Quantox. It's like season 3, I think.
Mm.
And he is very, very sure they share this chocolate bar because they get separated from. They don't get a lift back or something.
Right.
And they start walking back. It's pretty fucking far. And I think Mark says, "Oh, I packed an emergency chocolate bar for this," and he'd actually packed 2, but he just says about 1. And Jeremy's a massive dick about it, and he eats all of it, obviously, most of it. And he's like, "Yeah, well, fuck him, at least I kept the Twix,
Yeah.
kind of thing." And they start walking, and they get to a crossroads. And I think it's also that Mark's got a coat, and he's got like a jacket and a shirt underneath.
Yeah.
And Jeremy's in a t-shirt. So Jez is like shivering, and Mark just says, "I'll take my coat."
Yeah.
And then they walk to a crossroads, and Jez is like, "It's definitely to the left," and Mark's like, "It's definitely to the right." And they're like fucking.
Oh yeah, I
it.
remember this.
Yeah, and he just says he takes his Twix out, and he says because they decide to go opposite ways. He says, "I'm so confident about it. It's like take my Twix. You'll be the one who needs it." And then he just walks off, and Jez is like, "Oh wow, you didn't tell me about that shit." And he's like, "Okay, cool." They both walk off on opposite sides, and you just see in the morning where he's like, Jez is like, "Oh man, Mark was right, but I can't let him know. I've got to play it cool. It took me 4 hours to walk that route. That was shit." And then, he's having breakfast and stuff. And then Mark comes in, and he's literally just come in from his walk, and it's like 7 a.m. or something, like everyone's having breakfast.
Oh shit.
And he's kind of like seeing Jez, just like, I told you I was going the right way. Like he immediately changes the story, but he sees that he was right.
He's like ready to just basically give in and admit he was a dickhead, and then it's like, actually, reality proves him right.
Yeah, exactly. So he just shits on Mark, and Mark's like, "Well, just don't tell him that you pissed on yourself to keep yourself warm in that barn you slept in last night." It's like, fuck. Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
It's like, yeah.
Oh,
I love it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably a good place to call it a day.
I think that's probably true. Time is, to be honest. Oh, I paused it. Okay. We have 1 hour 21. Oh, we should talk about what we
3:51. What we talked about.
What we talked about, yeah. In this episode, we talked about digital marketing.
Yeah. I think we talked about the Trump presidency a little bit after that.
Yeah, a little bit. That was near the end. What did we talk about at the beginning? I don't really remember. We talked about all sorts of shit, basically, as usual.
I think
self-congratulated a lot.
Pretty random, some pretty random tangents, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the rants were.
Made a lot of references to previous episodes because we're the only people to actually, especially, I guess we're the only people to re-listen to it so far, so it's good to make jokes about it because it's creating a culture. So let's just give you that behind-the-curtain advice. The documentary's the same thing as the show, guys. Get used to it.
Yeah, and then what did we discuss towards the end? Fuck.
Well, we had Peep Show right at the end. That's always good. So
Yeah,
just
Peep
stay
Show is,
tuned for
pretty
our
legit.
retelling of a random Peep Show episode, and you can say, "Oh yeah, that did happen. I remember that shit. Yeah, great."
Yeah.
And
I go for a wee at one point, and
that's true.
pretty intimate with you.
Whoa, yeah, that was true. It's like the
I said your name.
40.
Shit.
Boys, we gotta make this speak on both sides of the microphone now.
I'm so fucked. I said your
File
name.
divide completed. Shit, that was a file divide.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna have to do this right tomorrow. Let's say. So we talked about that, and we talked about everything. Enjoy the Balaclava Boys. Balaclava Boys, gonna do it for you. Gonna do it like a little boo boo. Oh no!